Welcome to the OVW Podcast, the unofficial podcast of Ohio Valley Wrestling. My name is Jackman, Ochs. I am joined today, as always, by Brian Hines.
Hello, folks.
And it's a Thursday in the feed. You know what that means. We have a very special guest today joining us on the OVW Podcast, the star of the show, Star Rider. How are you today, sir?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing well. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, we've been trying to get you on for a little bit. We're glad that no natural disasters got in our way this week.
This week, yeah.
Yeah, no snow.
Yeah, no snow, no massive rain, no thunderclouds or anything of that nature. We're glad to have you here. Glad you made the trip safely.
Oh, thank you, guys. I'm glad to be here.
So you are the current Kentucky Country Boy Heavyweight Champion.
I am.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Beautiful belt. Beautiful belt. First time we've had that belt here in studio.
Heck yeah.
So we're very glad that you brought it by. We still kind of geek out over belts.
Yeah. For me, this one especially, because a while back I snuck over to the Country Boy table and when it was vacant, and I got a picture with it.
Oh, okay.
So I like the way it looks on me, but it looks good on you too.
I think it looks a lot better on me than it did on Tony Evans.
Oh, well, yeah.
Definitely.
Definitely.
This is kind of one of the newer belts in OVW.
Yes, it is.
What does it mean in such a short amount of time? It's been established as very prestigious.
It has. It's been very prestigious. We've had some great people hold it. Luscious Lawrence, Omar Amir, Joe Mack, the veteran Jack Vaughn, and Tony Evans. So to be able to carry on the legacy and hope to do good things like those past champions do, hopefully I'm able to do that with my run.
What have you seen in the past championships that you hope, the past champions runs that you hope to improve upon?
Longer runs. I want to be one of the longest reigning Country Boy heavyweight champions that OVW's had.
Do you know what the current? Do you know what you have to get to be the longest reigning champion?
I think it's close to 200 days. I think
wow.
Ryan Von Rocket was close to 200, if not a little over 200. So I got a ways to go. But,
got a ways to go.
I know I can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. You are one of the more revered, loved people in the Davis Arena. Mm-hmm. I know that people would be completely behind your back for a long title run like that.
I think they would.
Not only that, but you've been at OVW for a little while at this point, probably 3 years?
A little over 3 years. I believe October or November this year will make 4 years.
And prior to this championship, you were a Rush Division champion.
Twice, yes. Correct.
So you're not unused to having championship gold in OVW.
I am not. And this is, I'm not, I'm going to keep winning championships at OVW.
Absolutely. And this era of OVW, though, what is it like to hold a championship as opposed to your Rush Division championship runs?
It's different, with the Rush Division. It's not like, a lot of people say it's the lower tier division. Like it's a lot of smaller guys, and it is. And when I was Rush champion, I didn't want it to be looked at as just a Rush division guy. Like I can only be in the Rush division. Like a lot of other people have been classified as just cruiserweights, and they can never break through that ceiling. So with me winning a heavyweight championship, I want to prove that smaller guys like myself do have what it takes to hang with the guys of Cash Flow, Jesse Goddard, and EC3 and guys like that. So that's what I want to improve on. I want to keep climbing up that ladder.
Who do you have in your sights next?
After last night, EC3.
Absolutely.
Screw those guys.
This will be posted a little bit after the events of what happened, but for a quick recap, you were beat down by the Overman.
I was scheduled to have a match with the NWA World's Champion and our National Heavyweight Champion, EC3. Backstage, I'm warming up. I'm putting on my wrist tape, and next thing I know, I'm in the ring being dragged by Revolver and Joe Mack with EC3 in my face.
And not only that, Joe Mack and Revolver have pulled quite a coup earlier in the night themselves.
Yeah, they won the tag team titles. I don't remember what they hit me with. It was from behind, like a sneak attack, like those cowards are. It was probably with those titles, those brand new titles that they won. So my head is still ringing from the title shot from EC3.
I've gotta ask though, if EC3, the Overman, found you to be such a threat that they had to take you out backstage prior to the match.
Exactly.
That's got to be kind of a vote of confidence, right?
It is 100% because they didn't have to do that. They didn't have to do that at all, but they, I guess they wanted to also send a message to Luke Curtis, who challenges EC3 here in a couple weeks for the NWA title. So I guess it was partially to send a message and partially because they know I'm the star of the show and the star of OVW, and they didn't want me to take out EC3 before his big title match in a couple weeks.
That would have been quite the coup.
Exactly.
Yeah. What got you into wrestling?
Oh, I was a little kid. My first memory of wrestling, I think I was 5 years old, and I'm in my grandma's basement, and my uncle has wrestling on, and the first thing I see is Rey Mysterio pop up from the stage on SmackDown, and I immediately stopped whatever I was doing. I was like, whoa, that's awesome. And that was my first memory of wrestling, seeing Rey Mysterio pop up through the stage like that.
Oh, he's a legend.
I love Rey Mysterio. So also, being able to also wear a mask is pretty cool to pay tribute to him, one of my idols in the business.
That kind of answers my next question there, is I wanted to know how quickly into wrestling did the mask come for you?
Right away.
Right away. Did you ever think about not wrestling in a mask?
Yeah, I never thought of wrestling in a mask at all. But the guy who trained me, Roger Ruffin, back in Cincinnati, he came to me with the idea of the Star Rider character, and it had been a character for 20 years in the NWF, which is where I was trained at. And it was kind of like a jobber type of thing. It was the bathroom break. If the Star Rider came out, it was people's time to go to concessions, check their phones. Or
kind of like a rodeo clown or something.
Exactly, yeah. And he came to me and he said, I'm going to keep you under the hood, and I want to keep the Star Rider gimmick on you. And I said, you're stupid. I said, this is never going to work because people don't believe in it. And he just does this. When he does this means I know what I'm doing. Trust me. I'm going to take care of you. And I was like, what does this guy know? He's only been booking shows for 30 years. He doesn't know anything about wrestling.
Sure.
And here we are. 8 years later, I'm still the Star Rider, and I've done everything I've been able to accomplish because of him.
Yeah. Wow. One of the big kind of things from a fan's perspective that I've always heard is that it can be incredibly hard to show emotion or to gain sympathy under a mask.
Yeah.
How early into your run did you realize that you could kind of, even with the mask on, you kind of knew how to garner sympathy out of a crowd?
It took a long time because one of my trainers said this is 75% of your selling is the facial expressions.
Right.
And he said you're already at a huge disadvantage, so you need to be more out there and like sell with my body more. So I had to learn that very, very quickly. And then that's one thing that Al said he loves about me is I can still show the facials through the mask, and that's very, very tough to do. I didn't even know I could do that till he told me to start watching my matches back and see the facials that I can make through the mask, and that they're able to pick up through our
That's
cameras.
the best way to learn is to go back and review what you've done so you can work on.
Yes.
Well, then you have someone like Al there who has literally done everything you possibly can do in wrestling, including wearing a mask.
Exactly. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that regularly or maybe stick out specifically that you've learned from the cast and crew at OVW? Al Snow, Doug Basham, these very, very experienced guys that have done it at a very, very high level.
It's exactly that. It's learning how to do this at a high level. That's what I've always wanted to do. Even when I first started going to OVW, I didn't have time to learn on dark matches. I showed up, I rode down to a show one day. It was a house show just to ride with somebody because it was a long drive, and I met everybody, met Al, met Maria, and they asked me if I wanted to come down and start working to try to get the Rush division back up off the ground because it was right after the pandemic when they were allowed to start running shows.
Yeah, it was a tough time.
It was. And they asked me if I wanted to come down, and I was like, yeah, sure. And I talked to Adam Revolver, and he said, we'll get you on a dark match next week. And I was like, awesome, love it. And then I show up, and I'm on TV. So I had to learn right away how to work TV right away, which was very terrifying. Not having any time to learn, having to learn on the fly. But I think that worked best for me. I didn't have time to adapt. I just had to adapt on the fly.
Could you explain to someone who has never wrestled a match or is never watched wrestling what the specific difference is between wrestling for television and wrestling for a live crowd?
So wrestling for television is you're wrestling for the people at home.
Right.
And you don't want to ignore the fans that paid money to be there. You want to still interact with them, but they're not. You want to keep the people engaged at home too, because you don't want them to change the channel during your segment or at all. And then when you're just in front of a live crowd, it's literally what you're there for is the live crowd that paid money to see you. So you're there to interact with them and make them feel engaged so that when they spend, 8, 10, 12, 15 bucks to be there, they feel like it was worth every second of it and they didn't just waste 2.5 hours of their time because they just sat on their hands.
How are you different in those two situations?
Oh, that's tough. I'm not really sure. I do my thing on both of them. Like if we have a live event in Manchester or somewhere else in Louisville or wherever we're at, I make sure that I go around and I high five all the fans. So I already make sure they feel engaged. I try to get them involved before the match starts. I try to when I'm selling, I try to reach out to them and they're helping me build up for the comeback. And it's the same thing on TV. I'm trying to find the camera, whether it's a roaming camera or the hard camera. I want to like reach to them and make that kid that's watching home like, you can do it, Star Rider. Like, get up, you can do it, you can do it. So it's the same way. It's just in front of a camera,
right?
For me, at least.
That it's all about the emotional connection with the audience.
If you don't have an emotional connection, they're not going to care about you. They might pop for the cool Canadian destroyer that you do, but then that's it. You won't be over till you hit that same move next week. It's all about emotional connection that you have to build with that crowd. Because if you don't believe in you, they're not going to believe in you.
Well, that can be also such a criticism of wrestling, quote unquote independent wrestling, is that it's there to move a million miles a minute, not really tell a story, get the reaction off of a cool move. Did you have that? Was there ever a point in your career where you wanted to just be like moving a million miles a minute? Did you have to learn that emotional resonance was?
Absolutely.
Because with your skill set, you're very acrobatic.
Yes.
I could kind of see maybe some of your worst inclinations coming out when you literally can go as hard as you want to go, not to just go that way. What was it like? How long did you have to be in the business? What was a moment where you realized, like, hey, if I can actually connect with a crowd, I can stay here a lot longer, or I can be here a lot longer?
It was kind of pretty early on because that was one of my trainer's biggest things. Roger's biggest things was you don't need to do all these things in 8 minutes. Like, you have to build an emotional connection with the crowd. Like, he never has ever told me just go out there and do an indie style match. He's never once told me that. He said, you didn't build a connection with the crowd and they don't give a shit about you. Yeah. So why am I going to keep booking you if you're not going to draw me money? Same thing with Al. He's told me maybe one time to go out there and go balls to the wall when I was working with Gustavo. Yeah. Like, one of our very first times, he said, go balls to the wall for 6 minutes until the DQ happens or whatever it was.
There was a while where you and Gustavo were like week in and week out, like putting on.
Bro, we were married.
Yeah.
We were married for like a year at one point, it felt like.
That was kind of, I guess, was that around the time that you guys first started doing the tour around Kentucky and stuff as well?
I don't know. I don't think we had started our tour yet. So we were just doing TVs and pay-per-views and stuff. It might have been kind of like maybe right in the middle, but we weren't even doing live events together. There was no need for us to do the live events because that's kind of where you want, like, I guess you can, like Omar and Cash when they were running and they did Chain Carnage a couple years ago, they were married on TVs and live events. It wasn't like that for me and Gustavo.
I saw Cash and Omar. I think I saw, because you were on that thing. As a side note, I think there was one night where Omar accidentally pulled down Cash's pants, and then they did the spot intentionally every night.
Everywhere. It's stuff like that just, it happened once and then it just became a reoccurring thing every town that we went to. But
necessarily, you and Gustavo didn't necessarily. You guys had a different kind of chemistry.
We clicked from day one. The very first, he was my second match in OVW. Okay. And Al pulls me and Gustavo into his office. Gustavo had been there for a couple months prior, and like I said, this is my second match. He sits us down and he goes, "This is where he goes. I need you guys to have a banger in 6 to 8 minutes because the LOB is gonna run out and kill you both, and I need there to be heat on the LOB, so that way if we do this match, there's a need to see this match again, like who would have won." Right. And it kind of started, our relationship kind of started from there. We clicked right after that. If people always say, "Oh, where's Star Rider?" and he said, and people would be like, "I don't know, wherever Gustavo's at," or vice versa. Like, "Oh, they're together somewhere. They're dicking around in the locker room."
Yeah, those were some of my favorite matches, and you kind of mentioned at that time, especially, those were awesome. You mentioned that was a time where you'd been brought in by Al and Maria to kind of start rebuilding the Rush division, and it's clear that they were putting a lot of confidence in you and Gustavo to go out and do that. Did that ever weigh down on you?
At the time, I honestly never really thought about it, because the Rush division at that time, it was a championship that was kind of being flopped around a lot, and there wasn't a lot of long runs. It was kind of like the title where you can show up to a TV or a pay-per-view, and you're going to see a car crash match between 6 of the most athletic guys in the company. And me personally, I wanted to get away from that because there was no story. in the rush division. If there was, it would maybe last 1 or 2 weeks, or for a night angle like back in the Attitude Era, they'd have those one-night angles.
Yeah.
I didn't want that. So when I won the title the first time, I wanted to be like the workhorse. Like I wanted that to mean something. I didn't just want people to just expect nothing but car crashes. I wanted to be able to tell a story. And at my first run, that didn't really happen because I was off TV for like a month while I was Rush champion. And then I show up to TV one day and Al goes, "Oh, you're dropping the title to Gustavo." Because he was in an angle with Damone at the time. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I have no issue with dropping the title. I haven't really done anything anyway. I probably don't deserve to hold it. I haven't done anything. Mm-hmm. And then when I did that, I was talking to Marie, and she goes, "Yeah, we're not too sure what to do with you now that you don't have the title anymore." I was like, "Turn me." It's like, it's right there. I was like, Gustavo beat me. People know how close we are. We've done tag matches. We've done all this stuff together. People know that there can be a real-life jealousy there. And so that's where the story really started to click. Because Maria was like, "I don't know if you could do it." And I told it to Al, and Al goes, "You can't do it. You're under a hood." I was like, "Yes, I can." I said, "Just let me have the ball. Let me run with it.
Sure.
And I guarantee you it's going to work." I said, "You just have to believe in me." I said, "If it doesn't, I won't pitch anything to you ever again." I said, "I'm throwing all my eggs in this one basket because that's how confident I am in myself."
What's it like to prove Al Snow wrong?
It was great. I remember he had I can't remember what match type we were doing. I think it was at Thanksgiving Thunder a couple years ago. We did the 30-minute Ironman match, and Al said he wanted the finish to go a specific way. Me to think I won within the last 10 seconds, and then Gustavo to have his foot on the rope, and then Gustavo to roll me up as the time expires to win like 5-4, 6-5, whatever it was. And we fucked up the finish.
Oh, God.
The referee, his hand hit 3 after the time had gone off, so it was a time limit draw, and we were tied at whatever number it was. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, "Oh my God, Al's gonna kill us. Al's gonna kill us." And we get backstage, and I'm kind of just like poking my head around the corner, like, "Oh, please don't be mad. Please don't be mad." And he goes, "That was fucking terrific." He goes, "It works better that way because we still don't have a definitive winner between you guys, and that's why I turned on him that night." So. And then I did my first match as a heel, and he said, "You just have to be super aggressive." I was like, "Okay, I can do that." And I come back, and he goes, "We've created a monster. We've created a monster with you."
So you had a 30-minute Ironman match. What are some of the other stipulation matches you found yourself in over the years at OVW?
See, we've done 2 out of 3 falls. Most of these are with Gustavo, by the way. We've done 2 out of 3 falls, the 30-minute Ironman, last man standing, body bag. Did the first ever scaffold match in the history of OVW.
That's the one I wanted to ask about.
I figured that was coming. That's why I figured I get asked about this a lot.
Well, it is a scaffold match kind of scenes of a bygone era.
100%, yeah.
Then you get pitched this idea. What's going through your head?
So,
because all of the most infamous moments in scaffold matches are bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really,
Terrible.
really bad for the participants.
Right? It was. I'm sitting at my house one day, and I'm getting a call from Al, and I'm like, "Oh God, Al never calls me." I'm like, "This is bad. Like I must have screwed something up or did whatever." And he goes, "Hey, Star Rider." I can't do a good Al Snow impression. But
No, they're all good.
He goes, "Hey kid, I've got an idea for you and Gustavo." And I was like, "Again?" I was like, "I thought we were done with the body bag thing." I was like, I killed him essentially. He goes, "No, I got one more idea." He's like, "I got 2 of them." He said, "I want to do a cinematic casket match with you guys, like a cinematic buried alive match." He goes, "I think that would be very different, and I don't think anybody else knew about that." But he said, "I want to do that," and I was like, "Cool, let's do it. I'm in. That sounds fucking awesome. It'll be a long shoot day," but I was like, "I'm in for it." He goes, "Well, hold on." I was like, "No, I want to do it." He goes, "Will you shut the fuck up and let me talk? Like, there's one more idea that you're probably gonna love." And I said, "Okay, I'm probably not, but what is it?" He goes, "A scaffold match." And I was like, "Huh?" He said, "Scaffold." I was like, "I'm in." I was like, "Screw it. Screw the buried alive thing." I was like, "I'm in. I want to do this 100%. He goes, "Well, you don't have to. There's going to be no heat on you if you and Gustavo don't want to do it. I'm asking a lot." And I was like, "No, I want to do it." I said, "I don't think Gustavo would want to do it because I think he's afraid of heights."
Yeah.
And so I was like, if he's willing to do it, then he's the only person I trust in that situation to do it with. And I was like, if we can work it out, and I was like, yeah, let's do it. And then I get to TV that day, and we're all in Al's office, and I looked at Gustavo. I said, what Al say when you told him no? And he goes, "Oh, no. I said I'd do it because, you're falling. I'm not. I just stand up there. And I was like, you motherfucker. I was like, okay. I was like, how tall is this thing gonna be? He's like, it's not gonna be like a cornet thing where it's like 25 feet.
Yeah, that was what I was wanting to know because I saw the Great American Bash in 1986 in Cincinnati, and that scaffold seemed like it was just stories and stories tall to a 10-year-old kid. So
even the one that Al and Doug got for us, it was still like it was 15 or 20 feet up into the air.
Yeah.
And I had saw a picture of it the night before. Somebody standing on it and took a picture on the way down, and I looked at it. I'm like, oh, cool. Like I'm gonna take a backdrop off of this thing. Like that's gonna be dope.
Yeah.
And I get there and I see this monstrosity, and I look up and I said, what the fuck is this, Al? It's shaking and nobody's on it. I said it's just moving back and forth, and because it was set up for a TV the whole night.
Yeah.
And then it was set up for the whole pay-per-view before we went out there. And I was terrified. I didn't eat for 3 days when I first saw that thing.
Oh my God.
I couldn't eat. I was terrified. I was so nervous.
So that's the 3 days between Thursday and Saturday.
Once I got there Thursday, I didn't eat from Thursday when I got to the building at probably like 3 or 4 in the afternoon until after the match Saturday. I couldn't eat.
So you walk out through that entranceway. You're depleted of all sustenance.
I'm lucky to get down water at this point, yes.
You walk toward the ring. This imposing structure is standing very high above you.
Yes.
You know you're, less than 20 minutes away from falling off of it?
About that, yeah. I think we had whatever. They didn't give us a specific time. I asked Al, I was like, but there's no time here. What do you want us to do? He goes, well, that's up to you guys. Feel it out there. If you guys want to go home in 10 minutes, then go home. If you want to go home in 40, go 40. Like, just feel it. But, don't do anything too stupid up there. And he made sure to look at me when he said that. So,
what's going through your mind? Your music hits. You're hungry.
I'm
You're terrified.
I'm terrified.
You can smell the Wix pizza from the concession stand.
Yes. That was my thing on my mind was, okay, let's get through this next 25, 30 minutes. I can eat. I can relax. But Gustavo's music plays. I jump him in the aisleway, so immediately the adrenaline is already hit.
Right.
And I remember we said a prayer together backstage just to, like, God, make sure you're looking over us. Let's get out of this safe and in one piece so we can go home to our families tonight. But once we got out there and the adrenaline's kicking, a sold-out Davis Arena, which hadn't happened in fucking years at that point, I don't think so.
And this is like pre-Netflix. This is
this is before everything.
Yeah, so this is really, really like a sold-out Davis Arena. It's gotta feel amazing.
It was, and not to be egotistical, but I do feel like me and Gustavo were the draw that night because we main evented over Jesse Goddard's and Shira when Jesse was in the middle of his like 500-600 day run as national champion.
Yeah.
So to be able to main event over that moment with Shira winning, I was like, whoa, fuck. I was like, looked at Gustavo, I was like, we got our hands full. The crowd the roof's off this place with Shira ending Goddard's run. I was like, we got to do something. And I think we delivered, I would say. It was tremendous. I'll never, ever forget that feeling, those goosebumps.
Is that your favorite thing you've done in OVW so far?
100%.
Yeah.
If that would have been 15, 20 years down the line, like in the future, that's how I would have went out in professional wrestling. That's how I would have gone out. It wouldn't have been a better feeling than taking that fall, looking up at somebody I love with the Rush title and be like, I could go out like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you still keep up with Gustavo?
It's tough because he lives down in Tennessee. He's doing his thing and I'm doing my thing. We actually saw each other a couple months after the scaffold match, so that was really good. But I haven't seen him in about 2 years. Like I said, he's doing his thing. I'm doing mine. He's got a kid on the way.
Oh, congratulations!
He's already got one kid. So it's hard to keep up, but I'm sure we'll cross paths again at some point.
You guys really were. You guys were like so much fun back then.
Thank
you. It was
you.
really, really, really. I complain sometimes about having to see the same match over and over again. I really didn't feel that way whenever that was going on, and I was fortunate enough to go to a lot of OVW live at that time period.
Thank you.
What you said just recently, within the last 32 or 3 minutes maybe, that you say 15, 20 years down the road you would have gone out on that scaffolding match. How old are you right now?
26.
So you want to wrestle until you're 40, 45.
Yeah, until my body physically can't, or until I feel like I've accomplished everything that I want to accomplish in wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know when that's going to be. I definitely have a lot of miles still left to go.
Sure.
So, yeah, we'll see.
I mean, you're still very, very young.
Exactly.
Hard to tell with the mask. So I did want to clarify, as I was like, man, he could be 45 right now, planning on going till he's 70. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you do want to accomplish?
Make a lot of money in wrestling, obviously.
Right. Never hurts.
Yeah. And then I want wrestling to be a better thing, like leave it better than when I first started. I want to,
Sure.
That's what I want to do, is just help the business as a whole and just make sure it's left in, good hands for the kids that are going to come for generations behind me and pave the way for them, like the greats have paved the way for guys like myself.
And I mean, it seems like OVW, you've kind of found a great niche and a great place to be able to do that.
100%, I would. Yes, absolutely agree.
Star Rider, thank you. On the way out, why don't you plug your social medias for us, or your pro wrestling tees, or any place where we can find your merchandise, find stuff for you?
Go to Pro Wrestling Tees. I have a couple shirts up there. I have merchandise, shirts and hoodies at shopovw.com. My socials, Facebook is just Star Rider, 2 words. Twitter is @RiderOfTheStars, and Instagram is @RiderOfTheStars as well.
Kentucky Country Boy Heavyweight Champion Star Rider, thank you so much for coming by today, man.
Thank you guys for having me. This
We
was
certainly
a blast.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you guys.